There was a time not long ago when the name Gervonta "Tank" Davis struck fear into the hearts of every fighter at 130, 135 and even 140 pounds. He wasn't just a champion, he was a destroyer. He didn't simply win fights, he ended them, violently, decisively. The bell rang and, like a predator on the hunt, he would stalk, corner and unload with terrifying precision. For Davis, boxing wasn't a sport, it was an expression of force. His knockouts weren't accidental, they were inevitable. He was, quite simply, the storm. But then came the night everything changed. Lamont Roach Jr, that was supposed to be just another name, another notch, another victim. People called it a mismatch. Gervonta himself predicted fireworks. He knew the story before it was written. He'd seen it too many times. A slow start, a spark of violence, and then a highlight reel finish. Except the ending didn't follow the script. What unfolded wasn't domination, it wasn't destruction. It was a war of attrition, a chess match fought in fire. Roach came not to survive, but to win. And for the first time in years, Davis didn't have the answers people expected. A controversial knee-down, one many believe should have been called a knockdown, left questions lingering. The rounds kept ticking by, but the knockout never came. The bell rang at the end of the 12th, and for the first time there was no celebration, just uncertainty. The decision, a draw. For some, it was justice. For others, a robbery. But for Gervonta Davis, it was something far more profound, a reckoning. That night, a man who once seemed untouchable stood under the lights, not as a legend, but as a mortal. The record books will show undefeated, but the stain is there, a blemish in ink that doesn't wash off. But sometimes that's exactly what a fighter needs. Because, champions aren't made in victory, they're forged in failure, in embarrassment, in that dark space between expectation and reality. That's where a man's soul is tested. That's where you discover who you really are when the world no longer believes. And Gervonta Davis, he heard everything. He's lost a step, he's distracted, he's not hungry anymore, he's peaked. But let's be clear, he heard it all and he took it personally. Not because he was offended, but because, honestly, they were right. Somewhere along the way, the fire had dimmed. The hunger that once defined him had dulled under the weight of fame, of comfort, of a life earned through dominance. He became the man who used to want it more and didn't even realize it, until now. Because every great fighter has that one moment. That moment when the mask is ripped off, when the crowd stops cheering, when the lights feel colder. That moment where everything you built starts to feel like it's crumbling beneath your feet. And in that moment, when others crumble, true greatness rises. This isn't the end of Gervonta Davis. This is the resurrection. The man who once fought with a chip on his shoulder has found a new reason to bleed. Doubt, shame, redemption. This isn't just a comeback, it's a transformation. There's a version of Tank that no one has seen yet. Not his fans, not his critics, not even himself. But it's coming. Because when you fall and the world starts pointing fingers, you have two choices. Disappear quietly or come back with a fury that shakes the ground. Gervonta has chosen the latter. The lessons have been absorbed, the ego humbled, the mission clearer than ever. He doesn't want to win anymore, he wants to prove something. To everyone who wrote him off, to the ones who said he was done, to the ones who forgot. This isn't just about Roach. This isn't about one draw on a pristine record. This is about legacy. This is about building something untouchable, not with just fists, but with will, with obsession, with soul. There's a beast that's been awakened in Gervonta Davis. It's not the Tank we used to know. It's something more dangerous, more complete. Because pain changes people. People counted him out.
I think Roach is too small.
I think Lamont Roach doesn't do that.
Lamont gets stopped enough. Lamont Roach doesn't have a chair.
Doubted, overlooked before gloves touched, they had already decided Lamont Roach Jr would lose. Some even said he didn't belong in the ring with Gervonta "Tank" Davis. He met Davis in the middle of the ring and he went to war. He didn't just survive the storm, he created his own. Lamont Roach Jr didn't just show he belonged. He forced the world to admit it. he stained Gervonta's perfect record. A draw on the cards, but a victory in spirit. Because that night, something changed. A new name was carved into the wall of elite lightweights. And now the rematch. Now Lamont isn't stepping into the ring as an underdog, he's stepping in as a storm. This isn't about proving he belongs anymore, he's already done that. This time, he's coming to take it all. The belt, the glory, the respect, the silence of doubters turned into the roar of believers. But to understand Lamont Roach Jr., to truly understand what drives a man like this, you have to go back to where it started. Because Lamont's story isn't written in titles or knockouts. It's written in long days, early mornings, and honestly the kind of pain that builds champions. It's written in discipline, the kind that doesn't need cameras or claps. It's written in hunger, the hunger to be more, to be great, to be remembered. He wasn't born into privilege. He didn't have a silver spoon or an easy path. What he had was will. A relentless hunger that pushed him past every obstacle. That made him show up when no one else did. That made him push through pain, exhaustion, and doubt. When the gyms were quiet, Lamont was there. When the world wasn't watching, Lamont was grinding. And when it came time to face Gervonta the first time, he wasn't there for a paycheck or a moral victory. He was there to win. That hunger, that burning need to carve his name into boxing history is what made that fight legendary. And now it's back. Because the job isn't finished. This rematch isn't just about redemption, it's about destiny. It's about taking everything that was nearly his and making it reality. The first fight was a message, a warning to the world that a new force had arrived. Lamont Roach Jr. fights like a man who remembers every slight, every doubt, every time his name was left out of the conversation, every time someone told him he wasn't ready, wasn't fast enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't enough. He carries that with him into every round. But, he doesn't carry it like a burden. He carries it like fuel. It's what keeps him moving forward when his lungs scream for rest. It's what makes him dig deeper when it would be easier to coast. It's what turns pain into purpose. Because Roach isn't just fighting for a belt, he's fighting for legacy, for history, for that rare place in the sport where names are etched in stone. He's fighting for every young fighter watching at home who's been told they can't. For every kid who has the dream but not the spotlight. For every believer who's ever been drowned out by doubt. He's fighting for them, but mostly he's fighting for himself, to prove that belief was never misplaced. To show that greatness doesn't need hype, it needs heart. This fight will be war. Gervonta Davis is still the favorite, still the name on the posters, still the power-punching phenom with a highlight reel full of destruction. But Lamont Roach Jr. is not the same man who fought him the first time. He's evolved, he's sharpened. He's coming back not as a question mark, but as a threat.